So if you don't claim that...
Once you go to the highest remedy, there's no recourse to go back to an inferior action. Like the executive's office is the highest office, that's it, man. You're fucking there.
You just had
You can't go back to a lower one.
Do you ever look at some sort of fine for telling the court?
Yeah,
I can't do that.
Could you repeat what it was?
You didn't get the
in the Latin?
Yeah.
Summon.
A summons?
A.
Claim the 1,000 for
Next word summoned. S-U-M-M-O-N. Remedio.
What if I brought?
R-E-M-E-D-I-O.
We got a private counsel.
And
Not in the body.
You ever see
yes,
this?
that's where I got it from. Second edition. This is from the second edition.
1055 one?
But hold that page though. There's
1055.
discuss that.
Oh,
Is there
a higher level than executive?
Double book and
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
What they're gonna do is this, they're gonna say, you
What's the higher level?
they're gonna give the code, they're gonna take
What
this
is the
one,
clean?
they're gonna put it in there,
What is
the
President
code's gonna
Obama?
go in the margin.
What's Harper? What are they? What
Head,
this
this,
head of what?
this will be your super sedate's boss.
Head of state.
Indemnifying a straw man.
Yeah.
Activity.
So why would you want to be in a lower
This is
level
a
than?
non-cash money item
Would you want to be equal?
non-financial,
Yeah.
non-financial.
Of state.
Non-financial.
But head of state take
Well,
private
it's like
public.
Dual book entry, super sedate's
Well, like you said, you gotta apologize
creditor,
to the people.
debtor
before you
position,
apologize to
always
God,
must
so
be
before you
available.
do that, you have to get your affairs
It's
in
not
before you
known
go.
as a law.
Get the estate's
Okay,
affairs
so the
in
margin,
order
well,
before you
that's
go
codified
try to
here.
do that.
It's called outline.
If you want the
Never
lower key,
detail.
would you not come in as the head
Never
of state?
did.
The detail will come through the margin.
Maybe start looking up head of state now that we learned this new word, executive.
I found this quite a while
Maybe
ago
we
and it
should
was
start
quite
looking
odd.
at head of state and see what we learn.
They're both exactly the
You
same.
start going on the net, chasing
These
that
two,
monkey
they
down.
have
You'll find
bumps
out.
around them.
Good of you to notice.
Maybe a head of state is a lot better than an executive.
EC 110.
But
You're head of state.
Yeah.
I've heard
But
of
the
it.
executive, what do you think a head of state is? That's still an executive office.
Well, isn't it Clark that said the word state comes from the word estate?
Well, it's on both of us. Marriage, you have to be married now.
Head of the state.
Head of state, you're married.
It's a red
Maybe
herring.
that's what Ken,
Oh, yeah.
or Mike might hear able to
What do you mean you're married? You're head of state married?
Canadian
well, that's what he was talking about, the marriage.
437 rules
Right,
of
right.
marriage sexual taking for U.S.
Private
Title
public
18,
marriage.
which is a
Strong now, the state.
That's who our
200,000
spouse
plus
is.
10 years.
So then you'll be head of
Plus
that
10
state
years.
rather than
Or-
having two. Where they can, see, if you come in as the private, they're gonna eat you on the
You
public.
understand?
If you come in the public, they'll eat you on the private, because you're not doing
Or,
your
Right.
absentee.
Joint
But if you're a head of state, you become married.
Right, so and that's that marriage is alliance.
That's right.
It's one or yours.
Code number 2,
Till
merge the
then,
mind
till
of the
then,
corporation.
creditor can't come in and say who's and then divide the pie.
And if we come as a
The
head
or
of
is,
state, is
is
that,
what's the system's doing now. We've gone from
does that
joint
cover,
tenements,
amalgamate 7
which
into one?
was servient tenement.
Isn't that better than trying to leave one sit out there and float and just assume?
Now
You cover all the doors right now.
Because
Because that's where they're getting us, we're leaving the back door open, or coming in the back door all the time.
You go to the bank and make an or contract, please stand out.
You're
You know what
doing
or
a
is in
civil
French?
remedial advert
or, and
inferium
Goal.
actum
Oh, okay.
amateur
Your word is your bond.
regressus
Okay.
civilium.
The French have underwritten this issue because of the capitulation treaty.
yeah,
You capitulate.
well, yeah.
If you believe two planes took out 3 buildings and you say that's okay, you're in. You can have some of that insurance investment. If you
Yeah.
don't, I got a little corner for your incapacity. You're on the next plane.
I don't like that one.
Oh, nothing inconsistent with the tax treaty between Canada and the US.
Well, what's that trying to tell you?
There you go.
And are we under convention with the US? How do you know that? Bill 28. That's for BC. I must remember I'm in Calgary.
You're in a different planet.
Kind of, but we got the Mobility Act, which says you're not exactly right, are you?
You're from the
Some
same
of us
planet.
got
I'm under the universal law of consanguinity, which makes me parental.
Universal means all planets.
Orbiting bodies as well.
So you'd also be the ambassador of
I'm the ambassador at large under the statute,
a public officer clothed with high diplomatic powers commissioned by a sovereign prince or state to transact with international business of his government of the country to which he is sent.
See, that's why I
To the country to which he is sent.
Marries both of them.
It doesn't
So you're
executive
talking about
order on our
plenary?
office, doesn't it?
Sorry?
Plenipotentiary.
What you wanna do is
That's why I said we
pass
should go ahead and look at a new
ambassador
thing, a new level of-
plenipotentiary for the
Instead
creation.
of executor, start talking about.
That's what Bob came up
Just like
with.
the Queen.
Extraordinary
What
plenipotentiary.
you're doing is
Marriage
playing
of-
with patent
Extraordinary?
Plenipotentiary, yes.
What is that, you know?
With Section 13 of the Bills of
Is this
Exchange.
being
Extra special. Super, Superman.
Ambassador, what was it?
With extraordinary
Extraordinary.
plenipotentiary.
Where are you going to direct the royalties?
Extraordinary government.
Well, that's where we have to come out.
So is that a
The
self-realized
trust,
individual?
you direct
Oh,
that,
fuck,
the
I
trust,
woke
and you
up.
entitle yourself.
Hey, guys,
to the
everybody,
expense
I woke
of
up.
I got
You're
family,
extraordinary.
I got farms, I need
You know, that's what they
seeds,
said to the
tractors,
you know, they
I
said
need those
they're
guys
trying to
to
define
bills.
the state piece
So I
around
can run
themselves, and they started talking.
escrow agreement.
So, you know, they're trying to explain it from their own religious understanding. Are you this, are you that? No,
Correct.
no, are you the next thing?
I've
No.
proven my
Well,
capacity
finally,
to
they just came up and said, so what are you? And he said,
Right.
I am only.
And that's why we come in with executor, and that's why we be careful, because it could be duly, because it's private and public, it's two offices.
Yes,
In other words,
he's got an extremely valued.
He was
That needs to be
cognizant
That's what they
of states
So
surrounding
you're
him,
extra-
but
you're
they may not
extraordinary.
be.
Just
Okay.
before we
Because they
broke lunch, I
call
did
it
say we're headed towards
extraordinary
private,
perception.
bridging to private.
Extrasensory perception.
Ever heard of extraterritorial?
I put my 144 ready.
Let me know when I can have all of your attention, unless we want to continue in private groups, gentlemen. We're good.
Got the floor.
Yeah, you got the floor, and you can have the whiteboard there too.
Bingo.
Oh, we've heard.
It will always be a republic. Do you understand that? Because in the best public interest, it must be a republic. It's repositioning the public interest by adjustments on all the accounts in consideration of their value. But it will remain a republic. They hold the majority vote. They run the whip office.
That's because they're using two separate jurisdictions.
Now we're back to what we're discussing, private bridging private. That was my lead. That might,
Here it is here.
yeah.
Right.
What I just used was a technique called
Just show my contracts in the private, right?
No, the two,
Bridging accountant.
the two executives' office.
Who started that, isn't it?
The executive's office to executive's office.
We also have the biggest right next down store, which on our sign covers our discussion.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Okay.
Hey, did you start the recording again?
What is money? Anybody? Description?
There's no such thing as money.
Besides the medium exchange, no, it's so.
Congealed energy.
Anybody?
money to circulate.
Yeah, congealed. I need to liquidate that understanding and conceptualize your belief. Are you okay with this? Is money, does this fit your understanding? Is money non-public debt currency?
No,
Excuse you?
no.
Is it non-public debt currency?
Public
Yes.
debt.
Thank
Yes, it is, yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Because if it occurs up as a category, that's where you got the exemption, blah, 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 blah.
So let's take those few words, break them down. Non-public, can I have one word that makes that up?
Private.
Thank you. So private individual using a private currency system. See the bridging aspect? The private side is the dead ledgers. It's all in probate, less power. I'm a private individual and I got a private secret marriage with my spouse and she owns the land rights. That's the expense account in the dead side of the ledger. It's private.
Speak a little.
Non-public debt currency. Excuse me, Ken?
Just speak a little bit louder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the ability for me to bridge my private capacity with the dead spousal capacity, I gotta have some mechanism, some bridge, some instrument that allows that conveyance. If not, I'm in deep doo-doo in a two-point aspect. One for willfully withholding federal income on my straw man's account. And I can also hold them liable for that as well. That's where 144A QSIP comes into the picture. We are, you're pointing at this family. When you take this apart, this is fucking fascinating. Here's a little chart that shows you how far away you went from the proper place to go to mate with the bloodline. If not under Smith law, you're liable for mixing the bloodline. Mixing the dead. It's a fascinating chart. It shows you who's entitled to what damages over the heir's estate. I am Michael of the Garand clan. If I say it that way, I'm just some guy that says, yeah, I belong to that family. The family's not me and I'm not it. But if I go, hi, I'm Michael Garand, I'm here to deal with that ticket. Did I take all of the family debt on? Yeah, I made the improper contract of bridging the public and the private.
So why is the debt, since it's held by a public entity, the name, non-public?
Because it's non-public debt currency. It's really got nothing to do with me and my private life.
That's right, and you're private, so wouldn't that be public debt?
No, because he's private, non-public.
He's private, but his name is not. His
Yes.
name exists in the public.
But
and
that's
it's
that's what they put up as the surety for the loan from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why it's coming from him though in the private, non-public, like as
Well,
the
it's
source of
surety.
energy for that fictional entity.
The surety is actually private, it's you.
I am held liable for my straw man's activity.
As the
One
surety.
way or another, as the surety. But if I come in and I say I am the surety, what happens to the liability? Did I just make a marriage? Did I bridge it?
Yeah, you have.
Private and private. And now I'm on a public record. It's got to be registered somewhere. That
Yeah.
marriage, that
It's the
certificate.
title, it's the title to the debt
Thank you.
that exists in the public.
So only then do I have the right to distribute the estate's assets.
Ah,
Until then, they're secured drawing rights. And I'm converting them to required minimum distributions. The annuity payouts on life insurance policies. We'll spend some time together.
yeah, you've lost me, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I can't follow the thread on that one.
Okay. How does a life insurance policy work? When somebody dies, there's a payout, isn't it? And that payout is fixed. Either one lump sum, or you might reinvest it and, get some annuities out of it. But the payment comes from either the full amount of the annuities or the payout of the annuities, maybe monthly if that's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay? But the death certificate is what clarifies the liquidation of the insurance policy.
Right.
But the insurance policy is made up of annuities, accumulative.
Which don't stop and start, they have to be breathing every...
Perpetual trusts
Okay.
are in existence, and they're called mutual funds because they're all under mutual life agreement, even though it's a theoretical portfolio process.
So when that thing is paid out, since basically you died as an intestate insofar as those policies are concerned, the public then takes, or the government, I suppose you
Wouldn't
could
they be
say.
paying out the vested interest?
The best interest, vested interest or bad?
Vested.
Vested interest is dead, unless you bridge the private with the private, taking over their secret trusts.
And you've abandoned it all.
I did. Can I have that, what you were showing me before? 'Cause I-
144?
Yeah. The one that had, it's a small one. It had the open contract and a closed contract.
Well,
Yeah.
I was looking at it in reverse.
1055,
1055. Anybody heard of 1055?
claim against the United States for the amounts due in the case of a deceased creditor.
He's been holding out on this.
Is that a-
Please show him the highlight points that you expressed to me.
Mhm.
Is there the full form with no box? And is there another form with?
Yeah,
Is that a PDF 1055 or?
standard form 1055,
That's
and
it.
it's GAD manual, title 4, 1055-105. And then there's another page, and there's the instructions. Then we found this one. The same thing
In a box.
in a box.
Now, I want you to tell me what I imparted to you, please. Could you?
Oh, well, basically what we're talking about, public and private.
Yes, and what did I say happens on the margin?
Yeah, on the one with the box.
What's gonna happen to that one, and what's gonna happen to the one with no framework?
Let's see.
Talked about a lot there.
Yes, we do. You feel under pressure, you let me know, well,
You go ahead.
okay. All I'm asking is to see how much you got, that's all.
Well, I-
Reproof.
Yeah, we're gonna-
So he expressed the fact, 1055, you're filling it out, and there's no box. We understand box law?
Mhm.
So off
Which is
the
a box.
page, if it's
Doesn't
in four
exist.
corners.
Non-existent, does not purport to the form. Now, we have the form, which will contain both the same information. The only difference is the box issue. This one will get a code, and the code will be placed on the margin,
Outside the box.
outside the box.
So the code will continue and it will have full force and effect.
I-
What's in the box?
In the shape.
Is only an outline territorial issue. The detail is codified and it's under secret, private bridge contract. I'm giving goosebumps here. I'm getting it. You're getting it. Come on.
So basically, if you do that, you go on private to private, and now you can make the claim. But you have to, if it didn't have the box there, you couldn't really do it, because you commingled with the public.
Thus is thus.
It's.
You made a drawbridge.
form. But this is just.
And you didn't get across it yet.
Or the other one's 105.
Well, bridging is very important.
This one's
It's explaining to the-
1967
Aren't
and
they
this one's
agreements?
1999.
Bridges. Between a nation and a nation, or a
Yeah,
body of land and a
67.
body of land?
I
When a
would forward
captain
the guy
goes on the
manual,
bridge,
it's a guy,
I.
That's how I was
General
explaining executive office to
administration.
everybody,
Nice.
is that the man enters the
This is
office,
for the
and
deficit.
they'll say captain on
and
the
this is a
bridge,
gal
Yes.
manual.
but he has
I
to
would
bridge
forward the gal
jurisdictions.
manual.
At ease.
So the man has to come from the common law.
Yes.
He has to go into the office, and suddenly in Admiralty, he's now captain of the vessel, so that's captaincy. That's why they call it, for instance, executorship,
Ship.
because that's what you're operating.
You're the
So then
captain.
you are the prize, enter the prize.
So is captain slash prime minister slash
Enterprise.
president?
Become your captain, your ship, be the Kirk.
Yes, because
Enter.
Who were they bringing back on their first trip?
Yeah, pikey. Who's
Star
in a
Trek.
wheel- Who's in a wheelchair couldn't talk. I'm incapacitated. I used to operate over there and I got my shit up my neck and now I can't do anything except blink. Right?
And so they took Pike to his home planet. His wish was fulfilled.
Pike, is that?
Albert Pike.
This is the
Albert
original, this is the original
Yeah,
Star
what
Trek
do you call
episode.
the episode?
And it's not the episode, it's the, what do they call it? The pilot. It's the pilot. For the whole series.
2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all in Gilligan, and I must, if you would not mind. Please.
Gilligan.
Yeah. Ex parte.
Gilligan?
I'm jogging your memory so that this will stick. It's important. We understand that in martial law, we don't have habeas corpus. As of 05, we don't have habeas corpus. Executive Order 12803. You are under martial law. It's still a compassionate affair because we have FEMA on deterrence with the FEMA camps. Be nice, govern yourself accordingly. Milligan. Ex parte Milligan, 1863. We sent you a copy of the executive book. Do you remember that one? 1870?
1873.
73?
Got it here if you need
You've
it.
got it. No, in there you do. On page 76 and 77 you have Sesquiquid Trust. On
No,
page
right here.
76, no I don't, just for your knowledge. But ex parte Milligan, I'm just tying in the dates. 1873, 1863. He got arrested and they thought he was a soldier. So he's under military rule because he expurgated war. He didn't want to go to war. He didn't see the cause as just. So they had him in there and in a trial and shit. He applied ex parte for habeas corpus and he got it. So ex parte Milligan has to do with
Habeas corpus under martial law.
Kunatati? Kumatati? What is it? Kunatatis. Kunatatis.
Posse
Kunatatis.
Comitatus.
Comitatus.
Comitatus?
Comatose.
At the end of
Posse
it, tomato.
comatose.
Comitatus,
Yeah.
C-O-M-I-T-A-T-U-S. Comitatus.
A-T-U-S.
In there.
That was Posse Kunatatis.
Yeah, it's in the books. E, not I. Posse.
Double L.
Thank you.
That's right.
Posse Comitatus. That's the common law jurisdiction, isn't it?
I don't know, break it down. What is it? Passive comitatus community, yeah?
It's the watchful eye of the community. It's common sense jurisdiction. It was a group in society that said no way to that. We have
Power
common
and force
sense.
of the county.
Excuse me?
The Latin. The power or force of the county, the entire population of a county above the age of 15, which the sheriff may summon to his assistance in certain cases as to aid him in keeping the peace, in pursuing and arresting felons.
So you gotta be 15 years and older? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Over 15.
15 years or older?
Yeah.
16.
Okay, let's go 16. Look at 16 years and it was by the county?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody ever notice the word county on their paperwork?
Count and Duke.
Not the freaking country, but the county.
Yeah, counts jurisdiction.
Yes.
In Japan,
Two
they call it a
colonies,
prefecture.
Sussex and York.
Yeah.
That's all.
Eh?
Sussex and York. Suffolk and York. Anybody seen this one? What is the commercial affidavit of truth discussing Lisa Gohel has a valid contract with the Social Security Administration to implement this document and will be called on as main witness in the case. Commercial affidavit of truth entered in this case in its entirety. It goes down a little more and talks about this document was issued from the court of conscience based on the laws of the living God by children of the living God. Because of its source, it supersedes any of man's laws based on the mere administration commercial law makes and invokes due process as a God-endowed right. Administrative, commercial, admiralty, maritime courts dealing in fiction only have no legitimate or lawful control over veto power over this document. Once it is filed in a case or in the public record, this document changes the array of the court to the court that deals with real human beings and draws in international law and permanent court of international justice. Reason 4, this document draws its irrevocable position with regard to the maritime court system of today, from international treaties and law still in force today. This document draws its strength from the English-Portuguese Treaty, or the Treaty of Windsor, 1337, and reaffirmed in 1814. It draws its second treaty into its pages from the Puget Sound Agricultural Company Treaty between the U.S. and Great Britain, 1846. The power went into California and Canada later. It was then referred to as the Puget Sound Agricultural Society Limited.
That's what applies today, that Puget Sound thing, right?
Yeah.
Was that-
Did you
that
hear the
was-
word agriculture in there?
Yeah.
Did you hear the word society?
Yeah.
Did you hear the word limited?
Body of persons.
No.
Well, I'll read it again.
I thought it said society.
No, I did. The last word was limited.
Okay, so,
Agriculture
and that, for some reason, this applies today because of what?
Because if we're all soldiers at war, but we're not truly claiming that position, and we are under the HARP Act, we have certain entitlements under covenant that create the entitlement to claim these insurance frauds and their value.
And this is the lady in Florida that people were
Executive
going
office.
to.
This is like, this stops the government. Like,
See,
seriously.
no, what you're doing is you're redirecting the value of the treaties. You heard of BC Trust?
Okay, all right.
Oh, what?
BC Trust. If you go to bctrust.net, the basin, BC Basin, has all their resources from the natives that they've raped, pillaged, and plundered in trust accounts. They're now saying, come to us with a little idea, and here's $5,000, work your idea, get people employed in your idea. The money is there. It's in trusts.
It's like Canada is known as the
Treaties bring money. 1055 is a treaty.
Oh, right there.
1055 is a treaty. A 144A QSIP, when sold on the market, is a treaty. It's a return. Under those treaties that already exist. Living persons.
1455 on that.
Exemption from 33 Act. The exemption provides qualified institutional buyers, QUIBs. Okay? With a portfolio of 100 million or more to be exempt from registering their securities with the SEC. 110, that's cheap. Then you're staying with that, it keeps you in an ACSS system. But with the executive office letter, when you start playing with these trusts and converting their value, you're jumping up to an LVTS system, large volume transfer. That's why the QUIB has to be in place and you become the belonging trust. Tax sheltered purposes. You're onshore, offshore. So you're an outlying island.
Yeah.
Yeah, just close it.
A nation unto its own government
Close it if you want to.
that must recognize the sovereignty of the rest of the governing bodies. Therefore, treaties do that.
Run that by me again, because I know you were talking treaties and that's right up my alley.
I respect that, Tim. Maybe write down bctreaties.net. They'll explain to you how the treaties bring money to the market.
BC treaties .net, eh?
Yes.
And the other was BC Trust.
Yeah, because a treaty is an agreement between
BC Trust.
two folks, one essentially wanting to impose their will on the other in a friendly fashion. It's like, for your imposition of will, I'll give you, or for the imposition of our will, I'll give you a duck.
Coercive punitive benefits. Duck, I gotta cook it, I gotta clean it, da, 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 da.
Well, if you look at the, if you look at
He's forcing it on you, the duck.
yeah.
Go with it.
Okay, but it's staying civil, so I have the right. It is my civil duty to employ your civic liability. What right do you have to impose that? I'm gonna say it in 3 words. Violate my volition.
He's got a point.
Volition?
Violation,
Violating my volition.
Volition, yeah.
Isn't he negotiating an easement?
It's making you an offer.
Present the contract.
Yeah, okay, but that's what you're doing, you're negotiating an easement.
I'm gonna say, I wanna come and stomp all over your land, and for it, I'm gonna give you a duck. And here, sign this piece of paper on it.
On what day? Watch me play. What day you coming?
Monday.
I'll be at your house on Monday. Settlement agreement. You don't come to my place, I won't come to yours. Reasonable? Do exactly what they're trying to take from you. You know, it's funny. You want $500? And for me to give you 500, it's strangely, it cost me that extra dollar in my pocket to give it to you. So it's 501. I just bought the contract. Do you think he's going to give me change? Now he's infringing on the seller's ownership rights. Because I bought the bond.
You stooped him.
Ah, it's okay. Overlord.
Good game of poker.
You did 28.90.91. You didn't stay for the finish of the game. That's all. The game's still running. 2 things to remember by heart. SIT and a CA.
Security interest transaction.
You spoke, go ahead. What is it?
Security interest transaction.
Is
When they
anything.
Intangible, tangible, yeah, that calls the money's to be traded sort of thing.
It can create an obligation to either make payment and or pay service.
Okay.
So SIT or a CA, closed account. Closed account is an account that is closed for no further additions on either side of the ledger, but remains open for set-off and adjustments. Is a settlement a set-off and adjustment?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It's closing and a winding up of an account. Ken, I would like to refer to a paper I may not have brought. That would be the bank paper that I showed you before we left, the bank job that I did. I got the bank manager's card. I brought a friend in. I said, hello, comptroller, I want you to monetize this in my accounts receivable. Misprision of felony is indictable. This was just parroting from Winston. And the bank guy said, you're making me nervous, I'm calling my lawyer. So I knew the game was afoot. Went from there. The bluffathon was on. So I got a printout that shows that they purchased this account for $200. It was 43.27 or something. It dropped to 41. The category.
Whose account was it to begin with in the first place?
Excuse me?
Whose account was it to begin with in the first place?
It was a signature account belonging to a state named Garand Michael. Signature account. They don't give those much anymore.
The signature account is...
If I just call up the bank and I say, hi, it's me and this is my number, I need you to transfer these funds from here to there. I electronically signed it, just like you go to the bank and you go to pay this bill from this account. You did it manually, I can do it telecommunication. But I have to achieve that status before being able to create the entitlement, like an overdraft.
I used to have that ability.
Like, well, did we ever get your SIT out of that bank?
No, never followed that matter up.
That's not my issue now, is it?
So here's one of the documents I was looking for here, Michael.
Yes.
It's a U.S. Treasury form called a PDF 2966E, Special Bond of Indemnity by Purchaser of United States Savings Bonds / Notes involved in a chain letter scheme.
Wow. Well, I was explaining that on SEC Form 10 you have funny words called contemporaneous offers. It's in that form, as well as the word red herring. It does mention Canada and the US.
Is that right?
On the SEC Form 10, 1933, which has an OMB of 2012.
SEC Form 10.
Yeah.
Red herring and contemporaneous offers.
But those still apply. Contemporaneous or contemporary?
Contemporaneous. Thank you for the correction. French. What can I tell you?
Contemporaneous.
Yeah, and then there was the SF PDF 5188 was durable power of attorney for securities and savings bonds transactions. You know, where you authorize your attorney in fact named above to perform any and all transactions relating to my treasury securities in United States savings bonds and notes that treasury regulations permit an attorney in fact to make. Anyways, these were relevant to, again, it's the bonds that
Yes.
are issued on your social security account or your
Yes.
your legal person name account, your social insurance account, whatever you want to call it.
The trust.
Yeah, but there was a PDF 1455 if I can find it. I don't know what I did with it. I'm trying to find it here. It had some relevance to what you're saying,
Right?
if I can find it.
There's an interesting word that was on the purchase invoice that the category of where the money came out of. Is that right? Courtesy? Or a C?
As in...
E.
It's,
Being courteous. I-O-U-S? Courteous?
yeah, I
O-R-E-S.
Courtesy.
O-U-R-S. E.
Okay, courtesy.
U-R-S.
I-C-E?
Yes, please.
I-C-E? Is that right?
C-O-U-R-T-E-S-Y.
It's an O-U-R
Yeah.
to C.
Court.
Court.
Test, 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 test.
Court easy. Court easy.
Yes.
Dictionary here.
Pick a, there you go.
Courtesy. That was beside
There you
the
go.
200. And then on the next box, it had 200 minus. And on the next box, it had 192 days left Do you remember all this on that?
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Where'd you get that print off from?
well, I went to the bank nonchalantly. He's in his office. Look at that cute clerk. Yeah, let's go back. Can I was just trying to use my card at the ATM and it swallowed it. And can I have a print though? Because I know I got 50, 60 bucks in there. This is strange. Never seen that before. Can I see that, please? And here I hear the buffalo fucking running, eh? Tall guy. He reaches, and I just managed to do this in a second. She's handing it to me. I'm looking at him. He's just about. Oh, well, thanks. And so the printout does have the word courtesy. They did purchase my bill for $200. It takes 192 days left for it to wind down. You understand the term?
Holy crap, do you read the definition of that word?
Which word?
Courtesy?
Well, courtesy, like you got on top, it says see courtesy. You go to courtesy and it says, the estate to which by common law a man is entitled on the death of his wife in the lands or tenements of which she was ceased in possession in fee simple or entail during her coverture.
Land Spousal Protection Act. Why spousal protection in brackets? For secured drawing rights.
Get this, provided they have had a lawful issue born alive which might have been capable of inheriting the estate. Jesus.
Born alive. Guess what? I've been overborn with responsibility. Oh, fuck, garand means again.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like you and the straw man having progeny.
That's what I was just thinking. I don't know how that's ever gonna happen.
It's gonna happen like this.
Obviously it could.
Well, sure, because you're going to create bank accounts, you're going to create assets.
That's
If you're
exactly-
working
Children,
guy.
your creation.
Don't you have more small property?
No, the creation, okay, the birth registration creates the straw man.
Right.
And you have the relationship with the legal person, the straw man. And then there is a social insurance or social security account, that's the progeny. Because that's where the drawing rights come from that account.
Got him.
So that's the progeny,
Yeah.
and it's right there.
Yeah.
It is a freehold estate for the term of his natural life.
And it's courtesy that you get it. It's a courtesy to you.
So really, using this word courtesy to it has to be put in almost all the paperwork now.
Yes, it does. That's
It's
it.
like we are offering you the courtesy.
Does that word create moral obligation, question parochialism, and moral turpitude? Just say yes.
Moral turpitude.
Just say yes.
Yeah, no, it does, and energetically when you spoke, because that's what I'm like. I'm just listening to what you say,
Yeah,
and I see
yeah.
all of a sudden the map of it all, right? And
In one word.
Okay, here we are. PDF 1455E, Department of Treasury. Request
There's a
by
lot of rabbit holes.
fiduciary for distribution of United States Treasury securities.
You pump that out and you sign UCC 3-307 with your name hyphenated. What do you think they'll do with that security interest transaction? They'll probably
Well, there's a
marginalize
reason.
the value.
Excuse me, there's a reason for distribution party.
Yes.
Termination of trust, distribution of an estate,
Only.
payment to the estate brackets fiduciary must sign the back of the bonds
Ah.
or submit a PDF 1522.
Nice.
Reissued to the estate, which would be what we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
That would be a debtor claim,
Mm-hmm.
where you could do it under an agricultural lien.
Yep.
Or distribution to persons entitled. If payment is requested by persons entitled, a PDF 1522 is required. If reissue is requested by persons entitled, a PDF 4000 is required.
so you're straw man.
Or, reason for distribution can also be attainment of majority, restoration to competency,
No longer absent.
okay, or other. Restoration to competency, by the way, is when you tell them you're alive and you're the executor and you take an oath of office as the executor and you staple it to the back of this. But you do want a notary in the public to witness your signature on that oath.
Yeah,
So that they can recognize the oath of office.
Well, notary would be the quib for a 144A issue. You caught that.
Is that right?
Okay.
Notary would be the quib,
Quib is,
qualified investment.
Liar.
buyer
Buyer.
or broker, buyer or seller, you're transferring the rights, creating the entitlement for the return.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what we're doing
There's
here.
no problem, there's no problem with that, that's
None.
fine that you're doing that.
And that's the
Because you're bringing
shield
it
process.
into, yeah, you're bringing it into the public through the notary.
He's the shielding process.
But this form right here, the PDF, what you want here, you don't want to terminate the trust.
No,
Because the Sesta KV trust is collapsed when you come forth as the executor anyways. But that's not the thing, and you don't want the distribution of an estate.
No, you want the
attainment
reinvestment.
of majority
You
is
want the-
fine,
you're not
but
absolutely-
restoration to competency is the whole issue.
yeah.
Okay?
Which can come through restitution, demanding cure and maintenance.
Because you see all of these other ones here? When you do a restoration to competency, all of the other things, a termination, trust, distribution of an estate, attainment of majority or other, can be directed because of the restoration to competency.
And if it's not done, it's a pedigree collapse.
I'm not sure what pedigree collapse.
Your offspring that has been created from these trust accounts and the reinvestment process, if we do try a discharge and we try to close them, it's best to remain active, reinvest, and create an avenue to have them come back.
Yeah,
Can't happen without some degree of claim of restitution, and that's a military term.
well, restitution isn't the issue here. If it's restoration.
You're
to
reinstating your own capacity.
Well, it's
By your own-
restoration
Restoration?
to
Yeah,
competency.
Restore
Yeah.
So,
the stores.
The oath
That's
of
right here.
office,
I get around this in more.
the oath of office just simply has to say, I now stand up and
They
take.
even have to see the oath of office.
It's private, isn't it?
They are
Just
not
tell them that
allowed.
you're under the oath of office, and they have to know see.
It is private, and if they got a view of
No,
it,
it's state
not
private.
codified, they would have ocular proof, and you would be entitled to shut down their office.
You can do
That's it.
description of securities and or related payments, what you're distributing, okay?
Mhm.
So the title of the security can be any court case, for instance, can be the, you can be the bond, because there's a bond behind your driver's license. It's actually, what was it, fellow here in town said, Jeremy? Said it's actually a letter of credit.
Credit.
And when
That's-
you,
The applications are.
when you-
UCC, if I drew it like a ladder, if I drew the UCC like a ladder, you just went at section 5. Now you're going up on this ladder with the letter of credit.
yeah. Well, what happens, he says, if you take your driver's license, hand it to a cop, that's just like going for supper at a restaurant and handing the credit card to the waiter.
Yeah, go to my ATM machine, please.
And blocking instant. Using that,
See, that cop snatched that out of my hand, eh? That still isn't due, and I gotta, like, I totally got railroaded in that because,
well, you did because he didn't establish that he was a peace officer.
yeah, and she said you're here for a trial, and because I was questioning what he was doing, and I was asking, and she goes, you can't answer those questions here because you're here for the trial on the charge, and the charge was speeding.
A photocopy of that to start with, and it's not one thing that you do, that Daryl has said, it works like a charm. I use it all the time, and I got guys out of the coast, the fisheries, using it with the fisheries guys, and it works every time. When
You're a
they- when they approach you-
longshoreman.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Long trip.
Yeah.
Not the
I
long
claim
stay on the
Christian
trip.
law, Godspeed be with you, peace officer. How
Well
good
done.
is your day, peace officer?
Well
I just read that, I
And they
just,
just stops them.
the world.
You see, that's not
World
even,
citizens.
that's
Come in
a
peace.
pseudonym.
That means I brought a peace contract.
Yeah, that's what I did
Treaty.
with, that's what I did with an attorney in the courtroom, the prosecutor. He was the worst prick of an attorney I ever had, the prosecutor. And
But you still love him?
left. Yeah, well, today I forgive him, but I didn't know that at the time. But
Yeah.
there was 2 cops left, 2 RCMP, because they always kept an eye on me. And I walked over to him at the end of the court case, and I said, on the way over to him, I said, peace and goodwill to you, brother. You know you have nothing to ever fear from me, for I shall never attack you. However, should you ever choose to attack me and harm my family, and if you choose to continue on the path you're on, harming me and injuring my family, then I'll just kill you dead.
Reasonable.
And the cop said, oh, you're threatening him. I said, that wasn't a threat. Those
Promise.
are my terms. I offered him peace. Those are my terms. They're non-negotiable, and he accepts them by his actions. He turned white, his eyes went about that big, slammed his briefcase, and stormed out of the courtroom.
Do you see how quickly, when you're fulfilled of your understanding, that you can calmly convey the truth and always achieve compassion? And that's going to frighten the attitude of the other. It's going to reverse the fear.
Start running in parallel, so the opposite.
Okay.
Right?
Guys, remember, just if I can break in here, this form here again, if you recall, we were talking about indemnifying them, and they're acting as trustees for the executor. Okay, and if you indemnify them, they'll do what you need done because they don't want any liability. So they're indemnified for doing what they've been instructed by the executor as a trustee. The signature and certifications, just where you sign, it says, we certify under penalty of perjury that the information provided herein is true and correct to the best of our knowledge, and believe and agree to distribution of the securities as indicated in Part B. We bind ourselves, our heirs, legatees, successors, and assigns, jointly and severally, to hold the United States harmless on account of the transaction requested, to indemnify unconditionally and promptly repay the United States in the event of any loss which results from this request, including interest, administrative costs, and penalties. We consent to the release of any information regarding this transaction, including information contained in this application, to any party having an ownership or entitlement interest in the securities or payments.
That's a warrant of a surrogate. Yes. Hey, there's the offspring issue, isn't it?
There it is.
Warrant of surrogate. I have a form back
What
there.
form is that, where you?
And it's
That's a PDF 1455.
Oh, that's the 1455?
That's the 1455. And then there's the SF 30.
Can I condense this?
Sure.
If you Googled probate bond, you might come to a place called Surete 1, and you can get a form that you use your credit card that says you won't touch this for 1 year, I'm going to pay off everything, and then the credit house is going to go for a clearinghouse settlement. Ain't going to cost me nothing. You're just going to use my credit card to tap into my SIN account and adjust it with the treasury under the probate rules. It's a private bridging process.
Then you settled off everything.
An unknown.
And you put a bond out on the public, in the public, to pay for it all.
I allowed the credit house, could be MasterCard, Visa, whatever, they're running on my septic trust anyways. I may as well contract correctly.
Well, they're actually operating not on the Sesticade Trust.
They're doing it
operating
like
on your
this.
social insurance account.
Yeah.
And that's private credit that they're doing it with,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so where does it get released from to fill that corpus? Can you sum one, can you sum two? They're all English floating charges. It's just the financial house claiming the right of entitlement of return on the investment.
Probate bond, you said?
Yeah. At Surete 1.
Oh.
Surete1.com.
Security one?
Yeah. Not security, Surete. S-U-R-E-T-Y.
Oh,
U-R-E-T-Y.
S-E-T-Y.
Surete, that's French.
Sure.
One, like the
Surety
surety bond.
Surete 1, not the digit, the full common law writing.
Surety one, the number or the
Oh, any.
word?
Write it.
Oh,
Write the
okay.
number.
Okay, here, this is SF30.
Probate
This is an SEC form. When the SF30 is used to reflect determination by the contracting officer of the amount due in settlement of a contract terminated for the convenience of the government. The entry number 14 may be limited to. Okay. The thing here is that this item applies to amendments of solicitations, for one instance. Amendment of solicitation, modification of contract.
Yeah.
See, and the issue here is the contract that you are modifying, you can put in here, and that would be actually a modification of your social security contract. Okay. Because when you come forward as the executor,
Yeah.
you've modified the contract to collapse the Sesticade Trust, and you're putting them on notice of that. You can use this form to do it, I just don't know if there's a Canadian equivalent to it.
That's, you just use that one.
Well, we have more than a lot of contracts that agree we're under convention. When you come into a process like that, I believe that IIAC would be your conversion of your table as well as your mouthpiece for DTC issues.
What's that?
You're dealing with IRS code 382. What you're telling me right now.
Or,
IRS code 382 is an ownership change issue,
So we're good.
which is affecting the secured drawing rights.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Oh, all right.
Smoke break.
So you're actually changing your drawing rights through that form
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
And this-
IRS
is
needs
this-
notice.
The IRS needs notice?
Because what's going on is there's a trigger mechanism that you've activated, it's by Solitica, and at 4.99, you're gonna affect the face value of the bond.
Well, if that's the case, then you have to send this in to the US Treasury,
Well,
not
there's
Canadian.
watch, what you're doing today is gonna be effectual in 1 year's time. There's a process called Y legs for 1 year. Marriage means a contract has to be present, there must be a certification, or if not, you're fraudulently feigning a marriage, aren't you, Judge? So that's the M. Y stands for 1 year, before the distribution of the assets of the estate can occur. It gives the claimant opportunity to come in as plaintiff for distribution rights.
Which you have to do after you've sent in the modification of contract notice. Then you have to come forward to claim the proceeds.
You better have a quib in place, such as the notary, to be able to do that. We're crossing from automatic clearance settlement, we're going into large volume transfer systems. We're affecting Western Union, which is Wells Fargo, and settlement agreements through Acceptance Corp.
So really, you'd probably be well advised to use an American notary on this.
It can be beneficial.
Yeah. It makes it easier for them because of the bonding issues. They don't have to cross the border.
Well, we have two accounts, and if one has no tracking mechanism, such as a SIN number, it's a non-interest bearing account. The non-interest bearing account would not necessarily have any income now, would it? And that's the only thing you'd be held liable for now, isn't it?
Why is there no income?
Non-interest bearing.
Interest is income.
I just like making holes in a donut.
You gotta take a break.
Smoke something, I'll do that for you.
Yeah, I don't smoke tobacco. I don't think that's what I mean.
Well, you know, if you ain't smoking, get out.
So a question for you, Michael.
Give her.
You know a word of art is, eh? Or the definition of words of art?
Works.
Words.
Mundi vote decepe, ergo deceptor.
Sounds like that to me.
The world wants deception, therefore deceit. That is the art.
Artificial as well, yeah. Words of art. Sorry, right there, but
How do you die? Look, it's a double speak. The owner does not have a designated beneficiary. His interest is distributed over his remaining life expectancy. Well, I thought he just died.
Nugatory discharge, as if he was dead. What was that nugatory article?
It's
Pass to the friend, please.
See,
now he's not letting us
It's
testify.
the affidavit of truth. This actually applies in Canada. People were writing to this lady in Florida. She was sending a letter to the courts and was making matters go away from what I understand.
I want to investigate that further. This is new to me because what they do, they give you a green light and it's notifying. The first line does say, it says, all judges, law firms, and attorneys presented with these documents will be listed on the website for all to see.
All who see. Thank you.
All things possible.
Okay.
All things possible.
Art, words of art. Words of art used in a
Hey, this is
technical
just a
sense.
pseudonym.
Words
I'm gonna get a whole
scientific.
bunch of them.
Idiosyncrasies.
And it's a trustee. That's what it expects.
Words used in a technical sense. Words scientifically.
The executor can appoint Michael as trustee.
Scientifically.
Mine's
See, I'm always bearing in mind as well.